Nintendo Switch Sports is out in only 2 weeks as of the time of me writing this, and I couldn't be more excited. I and many others have been clamoring for some type of Wii Sports continuation, and this seems like it's going to be very high quality. The only problem is that a lot of people seem to not like this game for one reason or another. So, let's get into why you should stop whining about Nintendo Switch Sports. I'm going to start off with the Sportsmates, as the vast majority of people seem to have a problem with them in particular. Sportsmates are the spiritual successor to Mii's, and almost replace Mii's as well. I say almost because you can still play as Mii's in the game. So, if you can still play as Mii's, why are people complaining? A lot of people point out that the Mii's aren't the main focus, which is 100% true, I will admit. But why would they? These characters are over 15 years old and clearly don't fit into Nintendo's branding of the Switch, as the games that support them have shrunk in number over the years. Hell, there's not even an icon on the home screen to make a Mii. You have to dig into the profile picture setting just to find the option. Getting back to Sportsmates though, why do people dislike them? Honestly, I couldn't tell you. Something about being corporate and soulless without actually explaining how those descriptors even apply to them. There are quite a few videos explaining the various problems with Nintendo Switch Sports and the Sportsmates, and honestly, they're mediocre at best. A YouTuber named PK is seemingly in the forefront of these videos, as he's made 2 of them so far. Some of his points literally make no sense or have no evidence to back them up at all. Like this one.
It's like Nintendo are trying to hide Mii's. It's stupid.
No, PK. Nintendo isn't trying to hide Mii's. If they were trying to hide Mii's, they wouldn't be in the game at all. He also claimed something even more idiotic and unsubstantiated.
If Mii's were in the forefront of the trailer, the game would have sold so much better.
So, despite the fact that the game isn't out yet, the game would have sold so much better? And how would Mii's being the main focus of the trailer make the game sell better again? He has no proof for this, obviously. The only remotely decent point he makes is that the game's timing makes no sense, and should have been at the start of the Switch's life.
So I don't understand why Nintendo Switch Sports is being released 5 years after the Switch release.
While I do agree, things just don't work out like that. Maybe Nintendo didn't think people wanted a new Wii Sports, or maybe they just wanted to distance themselves from the Wii branding. Let's check out his other video on this game. This next video discusses the lack of sports.
When Wii Sports was released in 2009 on the Wii, it featured 12 different sports. Now Nintendo Switch Sports is releasing in 2022, so 13 years after Wii Sports Resort, and Nintendo Switch Sports is releasing with 6 sports. You cannot tell me that Nintendo Switch Sports should have half of the amount of sports as a game in its series that was released in 2009.
Which I have a super simple answer for. Cost. Developing games on the Wii was dirt cheap, especially in comparison to the Nintendo Switch. HD development, in general, is more expensive than SD development. Not only that, but a lot of assets used in Wii Sports aren't unique to it. Things like Woohoo Island were reused between Wii Sports Resort, Wii Fit, and Wii Fit Plus, if that isn't enough evidence for you. A decent amount of content was repurposed from Wii Sports as well. Not that there's anything wrong with that, as long as the content within the game isn't lacking, I don't mind. But he either seems to not understand this, or just ignores it entirely. I do agree that the game should have more sports, but the sports on offer seem to be of high quality. The only thing I don't like is golf being a free update. They should just delay the game and launch it when golf is ready, but nah, they gotta fill out that yearly schedule. Again, PK rambles on about how Sportsmates are corporate, but gives no reasoning as to why he thinks this. Just listen to this clip, it sounds like the ramblings of a whiny child.
Then there are the new characters. I hate these guys. They're way too realistic. They look so corporate and they are such a huge downgrade from Mii's. They're officially called Sportsmates and that is such a stupid name. Basically, I just hate these Sportsmates. Everything about them sucks. I wish there were only Mii's in the game.
He also says that Nintendo Switch Sports isn't being marketed like a Wii Sports successor.
But Nintendo Switch Sports isn't being advertised in a way that makes it seem similar to Wii Sports Resort to more casual gamers.
Okay buddy. I could go on and on about why these 2 videos are awful, but let's move on. The next video is by Voyan and is...
What in the why bother creating these brand new character models when everyone who likes Wii Sports would obviously rather use Mii's?
Exactly the same as last video. Okay. Let's watch this one by Demich.
But the characters in the spotlight are these bizarre-looking characters called Sportsmates. They look like Ninjala characters. How would you feel if the next Mario game had Mario look like this? But I'd go as far to say, the Sportsmates are not well-designed characters.
Oh, it's exactly the same. Again. You see why I'm tired of this? The YouTube algorithm recommended me multiple Nintendo Switch Sports videos hating on the game for no real reason, and they're all basically the same. Now obviously not every single person who makes a video is going to have different opinions from each other, but my god, these videos are almost verbatim. I did find one that actually explains itself though, by Demeech yet again. He explains that all the Sportsmates look unappealing due to them being very similar.
And I can say confidently that my opinion of the Sportsmates has changed after playing the game. They're worse than I imagined. I don't like the Sportsmates only because they're not Mii's. They are poorly designed characters. All of them have a very similar look, and honestly, they look like the characters you'd find in the countless shovelware Wii games.
Oh my god, someone actually explained themselves! It's crazy, I know, and I honestly don't even disagree either. There's seemingly no option to change your character's eyes or head shape, which made Mii's really distinct from each other. What I do disagree with is him claiming that Sportsmates look like avatars from your average Wii Sports ripoff, which is just straight up wrong. He also complains about the setting, Spoko Square.
The game takes place in a central location, being Spoko Square. Wii Sports Resort had Woohoo Island. Not only did it tie everything together, but it's a creative and interesting location. Spoko Square, on the other hand, is anything but. The sports look like they take place in a shopping mall or a convention center. The location also doesn't make much sense, because when I think of sword fighting, I think of a sword fight right in front of a Macy's.
I mean, I kinda get where he's coming from, but this is a cartoony video game, it's not a simulation. He says this looks like a mall or convention center, but it honestly just looks like a fancy YMCA to me. He has more complaints that make no sense, but I honestly don't care enough to clap back at them. The majority of complaints in these videos boil down to one thing: nostalgia. Whether it be for Mii's, Woohoo Island, or any of the missing sports from the Wii entries, Nintendo Switch Sports is automatically looked down upon simply because it's lacking these things. In my opinion, the gaming community at large needs to get better at judging games based on their own merits, rather than meticulously ripping them apart just because it's not like something from their childhood. It's reductive and honestly a waste of time at this point. This controversy around Nintendo Switch Sports honestly feels like some type of Sonic fan tier argument. Like, Sonic's quills are too short. It's like that type of garbage. It's so obnoxious. It would be one thing if the Sportsmates were freaks of nature that look like something out of a shovelware Wii title, but they clearly don't. From what we've seen, they have more personality during games than Mii's do, and they seem to be more customizable as well, at least in certain aspects. I'm honestly really looking forward to playing this game if you couldn't already tell. I've been wanting some type of Wii Sports successor, and this seems to be filling those shoes quite nicely. If you enjoyed this video, please consider sending a like my way, or maybe a dislike if you didn't like what I had to say. Be sure to comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.